You're in a room full of people right now, or a group chat that hasn't gone quiet all day. Laughter, voices, somebody saying your name. And somehow, in the middle of all of it, you feel completely alone. Not sad, exactly, hollow. Like, there's a pane of glass between you and everyone in the room. You've probably decided that means something's wrong with you. You're broken, or cold, or just bad at being a person. It doesn't. That hollow feeling is one of the oldest and most precise survival instincts your body owns. And right now, it is doing its job perfectly. It's an alarm. And to understand why it hurts this much, why it can physically ache, you have to go back about 300,000 years to a night around a fire. For almost all of human history, being alone wasn't a mood. It was a death sentence. Picture it, you're one person, alone. 3 days from the nearest camp, no one to keep the fire fed through the night. It means you freeze the moment it goes out. And out here, one bad night is sometimes all it takes. No one to trade watches with. Means you sleep in shifts of 0, straining to hear teeth in the brush, until exhaustion wins anyway. No one to help carry the kill. Means you eat less, or you don't eat at all. Twist an ankle a mile from camp, and there's no shoulder to lean on. You simply don't make it back. That was the math your ancestors lived inside. Every day for nearly 300,000 years. A body alone in the wild wasn't independent. It was unguarded, unfed, and running out of time. Which is why exile, being cast out of the group, was the worst punishment early humans had. Worse than a beating. Worse than losing your share of the kill. In small, mobile bands with no surplus, and no strangers to fall back on, being pushed out wasn't symbolic. It was a resource problem with a fatal deadline. It wasn't really a punishment at all. It was a slower way to die, and everyone standing around that fire knew it. So evolution had a problem to solve. Hunger already had an alarm. Your stomach. Thirst had one. Your throat. Touch a flame, and pain screams before you've even decided to flinch. Every one of those systems exists for the same reason, to make the correct choice feel unbearable to ignore. Isolation needed the exact same treatment. Drifting from the group couldn't just feel a little sad. It had to feel urgent, physical, like something was actively wrong right now in your body, demanding to be fixed before the sun went down. So evolution built exactly that. You felt it 1,000 times. You just never knew what it actually was. That alarm has a name. It's loneliness. And here's the part that sounds impossible. Until you actually see the brain scans, it doesn't just feel like pain. It runs on the exact same circuitry as pain. In 2003, a neuroscientist named Naomi Eisenberger at UCLA put people in a brain scanner and had them play a simple video game. 3 players tossing a ball back and forth, except 2 of the players were secretly programmed. A few rounds in, they'd quietly stop passing to the 3rd player and just keep the ball between themselves. No insults. Nothing dramatic. Just left out. The instant that happened, one region of the brain lit up on the scan. The anterior cingulate cortex, the exact same region that fired when your body registers a broken bone, not something similar to physical pain. The same signal. Your brain doesn't file rejection under disappointment. It files it under injury. But here's where it gets stranger. If exclusion runs through the same circuit as physical pain, then a painkiller should be able to touch both. So in 2010, a team that included that same researcher, Naomi Eisenberger, tested it directly. For 3 weeks, one group took acetaminophen, 500 milligrams twice a day, the same dose in an ordinary bottle of Tylenol. Another group took a placebo and never knew the difference. Every night, both groups rated how much their feelings had been hurt that day. By the end of 3 weeks, the Tylenol group's hurt feelings had measurably dropped, not their mood in general. Specifically, the sting of feeling left out. And it wasn't just what people reported. In a second experiment, the same team scanned people's brains during a fresh round of exclusion, and the group on acetaminophen showed less activity in that exact pain region than the group on placebo. The change wasn't only in what people said, it showed up on the scan. The pill built for a sprained ankle also dulls a broken heart. That's not a metaphor. That's a brain that never learned the difference. Which raises an obvious question. If this alarm exists to push you back toward people, why doesn't standing in a room full of them turn it off? Because the alarm was never counting heads. It's counting bonds. You can stand in a packed room and feel completely alone. You can sit by yourself on a random Tuesday and feel completely fine. The number of people near you was never the input. The input is whether any of them are yours. Here's why. For nearly all of the 300,000 years, we're talking about a human being didn't have hundreds of relationships to manage. They had roughly the same 150 people for their entire life. The anthropologist Robin Dunbar, now at Oxford, has spent decades mapping this, comparing brain size to group size across primates and human societies, and the number that keeps showing up, culture after culture, era after era, is about 150 people you could actually count on. Not acquaintances, not followers. 150 people. Who'd go hungry before they let your children starve? Who'd notice within a day if you didn't show up at the fire? That's the depth your alarm was calibrated for, not broad, deep. You were built to be known, completely, specifically, by name, by a small, stable group. That wasn't going anywhere. Now look at what you're standing in instead. 1,000 followers. A group chat with 40 names in it. That never actually goes quiet. A calendar booked solid through next month. And somewhere underneath all of that noise, maybe 0 people who'd actually show up at 3 a.m. So your alarm does exactly its job. It scans the room, checks every face against the list of people who'd bleed for you, comes up empty, and screams. That's why the party makes it worse, not better. You're not lonely despite the crowd. You're lonely because the crowd doesn't count. Every face in that room can be warm, familiar, even kind, and still be on the other side of the glass. And here's the part almost nobody says out loud. We didn't stumble into this. We built it on purpose. And we called it progress. Your own bedroom, so you'd never have to share. Headphones, so the world would leave you alone. A screen that delivers people's voices and faces without ever delivering their presence. A career that can move you 1,000 miles from everyone who knew you as a kid. Doors that lock, walls thick enough to muffle a stranger's whole life next door. Food that arrives at your entrance, so you never have to knock on a neighbor's door and ask for a thing. Every single one of those is a small, private wall, built brick by brick, against the exact closeness your body has been begging for this whole time. We engineered the isolation ourselves. Then we sold it back to each other as freedom, as independence, as finally having our own space. The hollow ache isn't a malfunction. It's the invoice. So the next time that hollow feeling rises up in a crowded room, stop. Actually listen to what it's saying. Nothing is wrong with you. You're not broken. You're not antisocial or cold or failing at some basic human skill everyone else quietly mastered. Your brain is running a 300,000-year-old program, and it is running it flawlessly. It hurts because it works. That ache isn't punishment. It's your oldest instinct, loving you the only way it knows how, screaming that you've drifted too far from the fire, trying to drag you back to the people who'd keep you alive. A psychologist named John Cacioppo spent nearly 3 decades at the University of Chicago studying this exact feeling. His conclusion: loneliness isn't a defect. It's a signal doing exactly what evolution built it to do. The way a fever isn't the disease. It's the body fighting back. Loneliness was never proof you're unlovable or bad at being a person. It's the oldest proof there is that you're still human, that the part of you built to need people is still switched on, still working, still trying to bring you home. Your ancestors woke in the dark, surrounded by people who would never leave. You wake in the dark, surrounded by notifications. The alarm hasn't changed. It still works perfectly. It still goes off right on time every single time you're alone. We just built a world with less and less fire to walk back to. You were never meant to do this by yourself. Almost no one in all of human history ever was.